Did you guys ever see the movie Goodfellas? Yes, I know I'm using the exact same line that I used in the video that was released on Saturday. But the reason why I'm saying this is because if you ever watched that movie, you would know that there were the scene where Henry Hill was driving around his car. Obviously, he was obviously hungover from the day before. He'd been on and off drugs. He'd been using a lot of Quaaludes at that time. And he got this feeling that his great big giant helicopter, which by the way he could see in the sky, was flying around and possibly looking at him. You know, the whole, is that a helicopter? Man, this helicopter. And then of course he eventually goes to his drug dealer, and of course he buys the stuff so that way he can resell it or make it or whatever. And they say, hey, look, I'll show you helicopters. This, that. Well, this is not the case where this helicopter was fake, and quite frankly, we're not on Quaaludes or any types of hallucinogens.
Jets have shot down an unidentified object over Alaska. The Pentagon says President Biden gave the order after it was detected yesterday. It's unclear what the object was, but officials say it was the size of a small car. Last week, a Chinese balloon was shot down off the coast of South Carolina, with Beijing saying it was a civilian device for monitoring the weather. Well, in the last couple of hours, the Pentagon gave this update.
North American Aerospace Defense Command detected an object on ground radar and further investigated and identified the object using fighter aircraft. The object was flying at an altitude of 40,000 feet and posed a reasonable threat to the safety of civilian flight. U.S. Northern Command is beginning recovery operations now.
Well, our North America editor Sarah Smith is at the White House. Sarah, what's the latest?
Well, it is intriguing, Clive, how little they have been able to tell us about this object, and that's because the US authorities know very little about it at all. They admit they don't know what it was, whether it was a balloon or a drone or some other kind of object. They don't know what country it came from. They also admit that they've no idea who owned it, whether it was a nation or a corporation or an individual. They don't know what its purpose was, and they don't know whether it posed any kind of security threat. So why then, you might ask, did they move so swiftly to shoot it down? Well, it's worth noting that there has been a huge amount of criticism here in Washington about how long it took to shoot down that Chinese balloon that was floating across the country last week. Now, security officials say that is not why they moved so swiftly in this instance. It's because the object was at around 40,000 feet and a threat to civilian planes, and also because it floated over water, which meant they were able to take it down without the risk of any casualties on the ground. All President Biden has said about it is, it was a success.
Well, guys, we need to have some explanation here on why it is that we just shot down another flying object over the coast of Alaska. You see, a lot of people don't seem to realize that Alaska is actually U.S. sovereignty, and it is an actual U.S. state. This time, this one was shot down over the coast of the Aleutian Islands. Now, the Aleutian Islands are not that far, well, obviously on a boat trip it would be, but when you look at a map, it's not that far from Japan, which of course is not that far from China when you actually think about it. So it makes you kind of wonder who is throwing things up in the air right now. Now, guys, we just had an incident the other day where we shot down what appeared to be a Chinese weather balloon. And, of course, the military and the federal government, which Biden didn't claim he ordered the military to shoot them down some 4 days prior, but yet they did not do that, which, by the way, screams something else entirely, which, by the way, we'll get to in the second half of this. So we're going to look at the news report here in a second. But the thing you have to understand here is that ever since that Chinese weather balloon incident, it seems to me that people just feel like they can kind of steal off us. Now, guys, before we go any further, let's go ahead and get to the report, and then we'll come back on the flip side. I get the feeling that the reason why we shot it down this time was because the administration is obviously on some form of heightened alert, but still at the same time, though, I don't think we should ever be on, which, by the way, our military is always on high alert. But I don't think we should be on high alert to this level. You see, the United States of America is a superpower, and of course we need to act like a superpower. Now, guys, I have made it abundantly clear that I am not okay with, just completely shutting down the entire world and not having any allies. I obviously do believe in having allies, okay? I just think that we should be better about choosing our allies, and we should be using our funds a little bit better, allocating, seeing who the hell we trust and who we don't trust. That's a different video altogether because, of course, it's not America's tax obligation, if you ask me. That's what NATO really stands for. The thing you have to understand is that right now, countries like China and Russia, they think they can just up and steal off the United States. Now, the reason why we shot it down this time is pretty obvious because we waited 4 additional days, and obviously this is about politics. The president of the United States, he claims he's running again in 2024, and he obviously needs a bit of an optics win. Either way, though, this thing should have been shot down from the start like it was. But also that weather balloon should have been shot down as well. People were saying, well, the debris could, land on somebody's farm, and of course it was just a balloon. And I'm sitting there, I'm kind of thinking to myself, it's the state of Montana. It's big sky country. It's not exactly a densely populated country, but you allowed it to go from Montana all the way to South Carolina. Then you chose to shoot it down right outside of Myrtle Beach, where there are people at. Very, very strange logic. You should have shot that thing down from the start. Also, Canada could have also shot it down, but for whatever reason, Justin Trudeau didn't want to do that because obviously they've been getting weather balloons sent over there too. Fact of the matter is that the reason why they chose to shoot it down this time was obviously because, obviously safety is there, but still at the same time, though, you allowed the previous thing to come in for 4 straight days and you didn't do a damn thing about it. And then all of a sudden, out of the middle of nowhere, now all of a sudden you choose to grow a bit of a spine. Now, like I said, I'd have shot this thing down, but I also would have shot down that Chinese weather balloon the minute it even entered U.S. airspace. Now, why in the hell is this occurring? Well, obviously because Joe Biden is a very, very weak leader, which we'll talk about a little bit more here in a second. But the fact of the matter is that I don't think they shot this thing down fully to protect the American people. I think they shot this thing down purely for politics, or politics was definitely a motivating factor in this. Which brings me to this last couple of points. And like I said, guys, this video right here was not meant to be very long. And of course, I have a video coming out on Saturday about some guys deciding they wanted to fight the police, and then they want to understand why it is that, that's a different topic altogether. Well, here's the thing, guys. Why is this occurring? This is occurring, number one, because you have a very weak president. Okay, China and Russia, they already know exactly how weak Joe Biden is. So they're obviously going to want to steal on him. Number two, why is it that the military waited 4 days to shoot down that balloon? You see, if the military was given full autonomy, they would have already shot that thing down from the start. However, my feeling is that the military that we have right now, which, by the way, you cannot trust because of all the social justice warrior messaging, at least the officer corps, not the men in the field, I'm going to make that very, very perfectly clear. I'm talking about the officers, who, by the way, are getting promoted mostly due to politics. But the thing you have to understand is this right here. It tells me that they themselves don't even respect the president. If the president did, in fact, order them to shoot down that weather balloon, it tells me that they said, you know what, man, the old man is wrong, fuck him. Okay, if you're a leader, you need to be able to have the men act right away. They obviously told to throw the middle finger up and say, screw you, dude, we're not going to do it. And obviously things got a little bit bigger. This very suggests to me that right now you're having an issue with morale and you're having an issue with respect for the commander-in-chief. And I kind of knew that when he went into office, that the military would not respect him, especially given his past involvement with the military and some of the things that he has said, some of the things that he has done. A good portion of the United States military would not want to work for Joe Biden for that very reason. Only the, let's just say the politically savvy-minded officers who probably don't know anything about combat would actually respect him. And even at this point in time, I have a hard time thinking that they do, seeing how they waited 4 days to follow one of his orders. Yeah, that right there is what we're experiencing. We're experiencing a bit of a mutiny from the top. Now, guys, obviously they shot it down right away, but obviously, as I mentioned in the very first half of the video, they did this for 2 reasons. Obviously, to protect the country, but at the same time, though, there was also a political motive here as well. You can't just allow this stuff to keep on going on, or else next thing you know, your poll numbers are going to go down. And, of course, they tried to spin it as a win. Of course, they will obviously try to spin this as a win again. Guys, short time of prepping here. This video right here will be out on Sunday. Make sure you guys hit that like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, hit the subscribe button. Also, make sure you guys hit the notifications bell. Leave a comment in the comment section. I want to get you guys' thoughts, and I'll see you guys later.